The silent stars, Polynesian wayfinding, across the Pacific. You find yourself on the deck of a double-hulled canoe. The night air cool and the ocean stretching endlessly in every direction. The year is somewhere between 1000 and 1300 CE, and you are part of a Polynesian voyaging crew tasked with crossing thousands of miles of open water. There are no compasses, no written maps, and certainly no GPS, and the sky is a dome of endless black that the ocean would reveal its secrets once more. You learn to listen to the silence, to trust the gentle rocking of the canoe, to let your mind drift but never lose focus. And then, one morning, a faint shadow appears on the horizon, a sign of land, just as the master predicted. Relief and quiet pride fill the crew. For you have crossed a world of water using nothing but the wisdom of your ancestors and the silent guidance of the stars. Scattered with stars that seem to pulse with quiet certainty. The master navigator sits in stillness, eyes closed, feeling the rhythm of the canoe and the subtle shift of the wind. You realize now that wayfinding is as much about patience as it is about skill. There are times when the signs vanish, when clouds cover the stars, when the swells become confused, when the birds disappear and the scent of land is lost to the breeze. In these moments, you are left with only your memory, your training, and the calm assurance that the ocean, though vast, is not empty of meaning. Instead, you rely on the ancient art of wayfinding system passed down through generations, built on careful observation and memory. The stars above you are not just distant lights. You wonder how many other journeys have been shaped by patience, trust, and the quiet reading of nature's signs. What other forgotten skills, you ask yourself, once guided people through the uncertainties of their world? They are your guides, each one marking a direction, a season, or a destination. You learn to recognize the rising and setting points of key stars, using them as signposts to keep your canoe on course. During the day, you watch the sun's arc and the shape of the clouds. At night, you memorize the star paths, knowing which constellations will lead you home. The ocean itself is a living map. The color of the water. The ocean itself is a language, and you are learning to read its subtle grammar. The master shows you how to feel the direction of the swells with your body, how to notice the way the canoe rocks and shifts. He points out the flight of a distant bird, the color of a drifting cloud, the faint scent of land carried on the wind. Each detail is a clue, a piece of a puzzle that, when assembled, reveals your position on the vast Pacific. You realize that wayfinding is not just about knowledge, but about trust in your senses, in your memory, and in the wisdom of those who came before you. Yet, as the days pass and the horizon remains empty, you begin to wonder, what happens when the signs disappear? and the ocean offers only silence. The direction of the swells, the flight of birds, and even the scent of distant land all offer subtle clues. Your teacher, the master navigator, reminds you that patience and attention are your greatest tools. But as you gaze at the horizon, you wonder, how did the first navigators ever trust the silent stars enough to leave sight of land behind? The canoe glides forward, its wooden holes slicing quietly through the gentle swells. You sit beside the master navigator, watching as he traces invisible lines across the sky with his finger. He speaks softly, naming each star and its meaning, his voice blending with the sound of the waves. You learn that the sky is divided into star houses, each one a segment of the horizon where a particular star rises or sets. These houses are memorized through chants and stories, passed down from navigator to navigator, so that even in the darkest night, you can find your way. Night falls again. You remember the stories told by the elders of navigators who waited for days, trusting that the stars would return as you step onto new shores. The life of a medieval Japanese night watchman, you find yourself walking the narrow, lantern-lit streets of a medieval Japanese town. The air cool and tinged with the scent of wood smoke. It is the middle of the night, and most of the town is asleep behind sliding paper doors. Your job as a night watchman or Eurekis to keep the peace, to watch for fires, and to ensure that no one disturbs the quiet order of the night. You make your final round, the bell now silent in your hand. The town begins to stir. Merchants open their shutters. Children's laughter drifts from courtyards, and the aroma of rice and miso fills the air. Your work, so vital in the darkness, becomes invisible in the daylight. You return your staff and bell to their place, exchanging a quiet word with the day watchman who will soon take over. There is a satisfaction in knowing that, for another night, the town has remained safe and undisturbed. You carry a wooden staff and a small bell, tools as much for reassurance as for defense. The bell's gentle chime marks your presence. The way your footsteps and vigilance have woven a sense of security through the sleeping hours. The townspeople may never know the small decisions you made, the dangers you quietly averted, or the patience required to walk the same paths night after night. Yet, your presence lingers in the calm of the morning, a silent thread connecting one day to the next. As you drift toward sleep, you wonder how many other unseen guardians have shaped the course of history, their stories hidden in the gentle hush before dawn, a signal to both townsfolk and would-be troublemakers that someone is awake and watching. Your rounds are slow and methodical. You pause at each intersection, listening for the faintest crackle of fire or the softest footstep out of place. Fires are the greatest threat, for the houses are built of wood and paper, and a single spark could destroy an entire neighborhood. You check the communal water buckets, making sure they are full and ready. Occasionally, you exchange a quiet nod with another watchman, your paths crossing in the silent choreography of the night. Yet, as you walk, you wonder what stories unfold in the shadows, and what secrets does the night keep from even the most vigilant eyes. The hours pass slowly, marked only by the steady rhythm of your footsteps and the soft echo of your bell. The town is a patchwork of sleeping homes, narrow alleys, and the occasional flicker of candlelight behind a shoshi screen. Of nights when fire swept through the town, or when thieves crept silently through the darkness, you know that your presence is a comfort to the townspeople, even if they never see your face. Occasionally, you encounter a late-night traveler, bowing politely as you pass, each of you acknowledging the other's place in the quiet order of the night. Yet, as dawn approaches and the sky begins to pale, you wonder what becomes of the watchman when the world awakens, and the night's secrets fade with the morning light. You know every creak of the wooden bridges, every uneven stone in the path, and every place where shadows gather a little deeper. Sometimes you pause to listen to the distant hoot of an owl or the gentle rustle of bamboo in the wind. The night is rarely eventful, but your vigilance is never wasted. Even the smallest disturbance, a stray dog, a drifting ember, a muffled cough, draws your attention. You remember the stories told by older watchmen as the first hints of sunlight slip over the rooftops. You reflect on the quiet pride of your role. The peculiar duties of Ottoman palace gardeners. You find yourself in the lush walled gardens of Topkapi Palace, Istanbul, in the 16th century. The air is fragrant with roses and orange blossoms, and the sound of water trickles from marble fountains. As a palace gardener, your work is not only to tend the plants, but to maintain the intricate order of the Sultan's private world. You rise before dawn, pruning fig trees, sweeping gravel paths, and arranging tulips in precise patterns. The gardens are a symbol of imperial power, and every leaf and petal must reflect the Sultan's taste for beauty and control. Yet, as you kneel in the dew, you wonder, what secrets do these silent gardens keep? And what stories are hidden beneath their perfect order? Your duties extend beyond the soil. You are trusted with the care of rare plants brought from distant lands: Persian, jasmine, Indian spices, and Dutch tulips. Your hands are stained with earth, but your work is invisible, woven into the daily rhythm of palace life. The Sultan may never know your name, but the peace and beauty of his gardens are your legacy. As you close the gate behind you, you reflect on the quiet power of those who shape the world from behind the scenes. How many other histories, you wonder, have been written in the language of leaves and petals? Sometimes you are called to prepare medicinal herbs for the palace physicians or to arrange flowers for a royal banquet. The sultan's moods are said to change with the seasons, and the gardens must always be ready to soothe or impress. You work quietly, aware that the wrong flower in the wrong place could draw the wrong kind of attention. As you trim a hedge into a perfect square, you wonder how much of your life is shaped by the silent expectations of those who never see your face. At sunset, you pause to watch the golden light spill across the palace walls, the gardens glowing in the hush of evening. The forgotten art of Aztec floating gardens, you stand on the edge of Lake Texcoco, watching the morning mist rise over a patchwork of floating gardens, Shinapus, that feed the great city of Tenochtitlan. As an Aztec farmer, your days begin with the gentle rocking of a canoe and the soft splash of a wooden paddle. You think of the generations who have tended these fields, their hands shaping the land in ways that outsiders may never understand. As the city's lights flicker on, you ask yourself, what other forgotten arts once sustained great cities, now lost beneath the surface of history? You tend 2 rows of maize, beans, and squash, their roots anchored in rich lake-bottom mud. The gardens are a marvel of engineering, built from woven reeds and mud, and they turn water into fertile land. Yet, as you plant another row of beans, you wonder, how did your ancestors first imagine growing food on water? The work is steady and rhythmic. You gather water lilies to shade the roots, repair the reed borders, and watch for herons that might steal your fish. The city depends on your harvest, and the floating gardens are a source of pride and sustenance. You trade with neighbors, share news, and listen to the distant sounds of temple drums. The Chinampas are more than fields. They are a living memory of your people's ingenuity. But as the city grows and the lake shrinks, you wonder, will these gardens survive the changes brought by time and conquest? At dusk, you rest in your canoe, the water reflecting the colors of the setting sun. The floating gardens drift quietly, their future uncertain. The long winter nights of medieval Icelanders. You sit by a turf fire in a low, smoky hall, the wind howling outside as snow piles against the door. It is winter in medieval Iceland, and the nights stretch for hours, sometimes days. You measure time by the dwindling of the firewood pile and the slow melting of snow on the roof. But the promise of warmth and new life is enough. You look back on the winter as a test of patience and endurance, a season that shapes the Icelandic spirit. As you open the door to the pale sun, you reflect, how many other cultures have found strength in the slow, quiet passing of time? Food is simple dried fish, stored grain, and the occasional treat of sky or smoked lamb. The sagas are your entertainment and your history. Each tale a thread connecting you to the past. Sometimes you step outside to check on the animals, the cold biting at your face, the stars bright and close. As you return to the warmth, you wonder what dreams and fears filled the minds of those who waited for the sun's return. Your family gathers close, wrapped in woolen cloaks, sharing warmth and stories. The darkness is deep, but it is not empty. You pass the time spinning wool, mending nets, and listening to sagas recited by the oldest member of the household. Yet, as the fire crackles and the wind moans, you wonder, how did your ancestors endure such long, silent nights? The rhythm of winter is slow and deliberate. When the first light of spring finally breaks the long darkness, you feel a quiet relief. The world outside is still harsh. The secret language of Roman senators' shoes, you walk the marble corridors of the Roman Senate, your footsteps echoing in the cool morning air. As a senator, your status is marked not just by your toga, but by your shoes' red leather, carefully polished, with a crescent-shaped ornament at the toe. The color and style of your footwear are strictly regulated, a silent code that signals your rank and privilege. You notice the glances of others, the subtle nods of recognition. Yet, as you adjust your sandals, you wonder, how did such a small detail come to carry so much meaning? The rules of Roman dress are precise and unyielding. Only senators may wear the red calceus, while equestrians and commoners must settle for plain black or brown. But still, brighter reminder of your place in the world. You reflect on the power of symbols, the way small things can shape great events. As you prepare for another day in the Senate, you ask yourself, what other hidden codes have guided the course of history, unnoticed by those who do not know where to look? The shoes are uncomfortable, stiff, and sometimes impractical, but they are a badge of honor. You remember the stories of senators who lost their status and their shoes after a political fall. The Senate is a world of rituals and symbols, where even the way you tie your laces can be a statement. As you sit through another long debate, you wonder how many decisions are shaped by the quiet pressure to fit in. At the end of the day, you slip off your shoes, feeling relief in your tired feet. The red leather is scuffed. The sleepy science of ancient Indian, Ayurvedic bedtime rituals. You sit cross-legged on a woven mat, the air scented with sandalwood and jasmine. It is evening in ancient India, and you are preparing for sleep, according to the principles of Ayurveda. To bathe before bed, a quiet strength that shapes your actions and your mood. You reflect on the power of tradition, the way small habits can bring comfort and resilience. As you greet the sun, you ask yourself, how many other cultures have found peace in the slow, steady rhythm of bedtime? and to keep your sleeping space clean and cool. The rituals are slow and deliberate, each one a signal to the body that it is time to rest. You listen to the soft hum of insects outside, the gentle rustle of palm leaves. As you drift toward sleep, you wonder what wisdom lies hidden in the routines of daily life, passed down from one generation to the next. Your grandmother guides you through the rituals, a warm oil massage, a cup of spiced milk, and a gentle chant to calm the mind. The house is quiet, the world outside fading into darkness. You feel the day's worries slip away, replaced by a sense of peace. Yet, as you close your eyes, you wonder, how did these simple rituals come to shape the way people rest? Ayurveda teaches that sleep is a pillar of health as important as food or breath. You learn to avoid heavy meals at night. In the morning, you wake refreshed, the rituals of the night lingering in your memory. You carry their calm into the day. The odd jobs of Edo period Japan. You walk the bustling streets of Edo, the city alive with merchants, artisans, and entertainers. Your job is an emigasa, maker a humble hat, weaver one of many odd trades that keep the city running. You sit in a small stall, weaving straw into wide-brimmed hats, your hands moving with practiced ease. The work is repetitive, but it is honest, and your hats protect samurai, farmers, and travelers from the sun and rain. Yet, as you watch the crowds pass by, you wonder, what other strange and necessary jobs fill the city's hidden corners? You share your street with other specialists, toothpick sellers, lantern menders, and even professional listeners who offer a sympathetic ear for a small fee. Each trade has its own rhythm, its own place in the city's daily life. You trade stories with your neighbors, learning about the challenges and rewards of their work. The city is a tapestry of small tasks, each one essential in its own quiet way. As you finish another hat, you wonder, how do these ordinary jobs shape the character of a city? At dusk, you pack up your stall, your hands tired, but your heart content. The hats you made today will travel far, carried by people you will never meet. You reflect on the dignity of work, the way small contributions add up to something greater. As you walk home through the lantern-lit street, you ask yourself, what other forgotten trades have built the cities we know today? The lost flavors of West African royal kitchens. You stand in the cool, shaded courtyard of a royal palace in medieval Mali. The air rich with the scent of spices and roasting grains. As a cook in the king's kitchen, your days are spent grinding millet, stirring stews, and preparing feasts for visiting dignitaries. You taste a spoonful of spicy peanut sauce, adjusting the seasoning with a practiced hand. Yet, as you prepare another dish, you wonder, how many flavors have been lost to time? their secrets buried with the cooks who created them. The kitchen is a world of its own, bustling with activity. You work alongside bakers, brewers, and butchers, each with their own specialty. The kitchen is quiet, the fires banked for the night. You reflect on the power of food to bring people together, to preserve memory, and to shape culture. As you drift to sleep, you ask yourself, what other flavors, now forgotten, once defined the lives of kings and commoners alike? The king's table is a display of wealth and hospitality, featuring rare ingredients from across the Sahara dates, honey, and dried fish. You listen to the stories of traders who bring new spices and techniques from distant lands. As you taste a new dish, you wonder, how do the foods we eat connect us to the wider world, and what stories do they carry? After the feast, you sit quietly, savoring the last bite of sweetened millet. The entire life of Mansa Musa, the sleepiest emperor, you are born in the golden city of Niani, the heart of the Mali Empire. Your name is Musa, and you will one day become the richest and most powerful ruler in West Africa. As a child, you learn the rhythms of palace life prayers at dawn, lessons in law and trade, and the slow, steady work of governance. Your legacy is not just in gold, but in the quiet prosperity of your land. As you drift into sleep, you reflect on the slow, steady work of leadership. How many other rulers, you wonder, have shaped history, not with battles, but with patience and care? The days are long, but the pace is gentle, shaped by the cycles of the sun and the river. Yet, as you watch the world from your shaded veranda, you wonder, what does it mean to rule an empire built on gold and patience? As emperor, your days are filled with meetings, judgments, and the careful management of wealth. You oversee caravans of salt and gold, welcome scholars and poets, and plan your legendary pilgrimage to Mecca. The journey is slow and deliberate, a procession of thousands across the desert. You pause often to rest, to pray, and to share your wealth with those you meet. As you travel, you wonder, how does power change a person, and what is left behind when the gold is gone? In your later years, you return to Niani, your empire at its height. You build mosques, support learning, and ensure peace for your people.